What am I doing in my job?
Yeah.
Well, I'm currently wheelchair service manager. So I've been doing it for a ridiculous amount of time.
How many years?
Since, I'm going to let you work that out, since 1995, 1st of January 1995.
From a community neuro point of view, in a little rehab unit, and that for me was my best job because it was a really good rehab team. We had music therapists, we had lots of clinical psychologists, you know, so you worked with a real range of clinicians, never mind individuals as well.
Yeah.
I think a rotation is really important though.
I was going to say, that's how I, from a rotational point of view, because I started at Wrexham Minor Hospital in Wales as a rotational physio, involved and really
I think it's a good way as well of just sort of seeing what area you fancy, because
Absolutely.
I think
it gives you
when
a taster, doesn't
yeah,
it?
and when you're going through your training, you have your placements, but they tend to just happen to be where they are. So I think the rotation gives you that opportunity to just see what areas you enjoy. My very first placement was very equipment based. And from there, I don't know why it was, I just saw, I think that such a small piece of equipment could make such a difference.
And actually, if it hadn't been for doing the OT training, I wouldn't have had all those experiences and I wouldn't have ended up here.
And it was a friend of my mum's who worked at a clinic, and she was a health visitor and worked with, so they had OTs based there, and it was her that said to me, have you thought about OT? I hadn't got a clue what it was, and I went and spent a couple of days with their OT, and that was it then, that was the training I was going down. So,
and I just remember coming out and watching the splints being made, and I thought, I want to be an OT. I was a bit like you, I wanted to do something different when I went into wheelchair services, really enjoyed that, found I was using quite a lot of my neuro knowledge because we see quite a lot of neuro patients, but then also got slightly itchy hands that I wanted to use my neuro skills again.
For me, I enjoy things like the sort of assisting clients sort of returning to gym or activities or whatever that might be.
I've seen them go back to work as well.
Yeah.
But there's always that overlapping, isn't there, you know, of the roles. But I think, like you say, they complement each other, and that, I think, brings that holistic approach to the patient.
To the patient.
So before this, I worked in intermediate care. I was there for 9 years. And so that was sort of like your rehab based, out in the community, out in people's homes. And that served me well. I really enjoyed it. I think for me, I enjoy what I do because there's always that element of learning. There's always something new. And just when you think you're getting the hang of it, they bring something new to the market. So there's always some development happening.
Just the fact that you can see the relief on the faces, even if they're not communicating. You can, and it is just such a visual, you know, indication
Feedback.
of you've done a good job. A little thank you is really nice as well, isn't it? That's one of the best things. Well, you only need a thank you once a week, and it keeps you going.
Yeah, because I keep thinking in a few years' time I'd quite like to take early retirement, but I'd do the same thing really. Probably come back, perhaps reduced hours, but still. Because it is a role, isn't it?
It is a role,
and I still want to do something. I enjoy having students because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy, you know, I did some lecturing before at Worcester and I really enjoyed it. I think it's really important to probably try and do some work experience, but perhaps do it in different areas.
I think as well it's realising that there are different routes to it. So like I finished school, went straight to university and did it that way. Other people have had other jobs first and then realised. So I know one of the social services guys, he was in the RAF and then, you know, then went into OT.